Welcome back. I am shooting a roll of Japan Camera Hunter JCH 400, black and white, high contrast. I've been wanting to shoot this roll for some time. Here's that time. So I'm out shooting, just doing some street, really trying to see how this film plays with the light. I don't know if I'm gonna push or pull this film, but let's try a whole roll and see what happens. Actually, I think I'm gonna start over here. I'm gonna start down here. Okay, so we talked about this film that I'm shooting today, which is JCH 400, black and white, high contrast. But I also have another roll of black and white film, which is the Kodak TMax 400. So I'm kind of interested to see how these images come out in the Kodak compared to the Japan StreetPan. I'm just shooting it as a comparison because I had the roll of film in the camera. That's literally the reason why I might as well shoot a few frames in each. We're testing, right? So sometimes what I notice is that when you're testing, you don't necessarily shoot in a flow like you would without testing. So I want to get that word out of there. I'm just shooting, and it just happens to be a roll of StreetPan, and it just happens to be a roll of TMax. That's the intention, so I don't get too staticky and boring. I'm going to try my best to do compositions that I always would. We'll talk about the roll and how it went on the other side. All right, let's go.
Alright, so we're back at the studio, got both rolls of film developed, the JCH StreetPan 400 and Kodak TMax 400. We'll break down those images in a second. I just wanted to give some context as to why I'm even doing this or trying out these rolls. I do love gritty images. All my street photography has a little bit of grit to it. That's the whole point of Street Soul, just to express myself and get that feeling on film or digital, whatever I'm shooting. So number one is I always want to find a reason to shoot. And when you go out and test a film stock, you actually have to go out and shoot. So that's great. Number two is I'm in search of a consistent black and white film stock that will kind of define how I shoot in black and white. I've tried out a few. I think I'll just name them because I can't remember off the jump. The goal is to try as many as possible that I can afford. So that brings me to number three, which is the criteria of what I'm looking for in this film stock. Number one is consistency at box speed. I want to know that every time I put this film in, whenever I load a roll of this film, whatever it is, it's going to feel the same in most of my shots. Will that mean that there'll be no editing in post-production? Absolutely not. I love going in and tweaking an image. I think we all do at some level. The least amount of that would be great. That means I can trust that consistently this film stock does this in most lighting situations. It's not going to be perfect, but that's a goal of mine. What else did I write here? Oh yeah, solid contrast would be nice. You know, not too much, but not too little. Again, I can make those adjustments in post. And then of course, latitude, just the exposure, just enough that I can work with those highlights and shadows and don't lose too much detail. That would be great. Again, because I'll be using point and shoots, most of these settings will be on auto. So the camera's doing all the work for me. When I use SLRs, that's great. I'll be using manual settings, but for now it's just the point and shoot. So that means I'm really relying on a solid, consistent film stock that's going to do its job day in and day out. And number 4, the X factor, budget. I would love to have a consistent roll of film that is under $10. I don't think that's unreasonable, and I've seen these rolls, and I'm hoping my favorite film stock is not going to be pricey one. So that's where you come in. I would need your help to let me know that I'm making the right decision on these film stocks, and hopefully from there I can come down and land on one and just roll with that. Even if I roll with it for 6 months or a year, who knows, maybe it's not even possible. Maybe people just always just switch up. But it's mostly for street. If it could be for portraits too, fantastic. It's versatile, even better. Now let's hop into Lightroom and briefly go through a few images from StreetPan and TMax, and then we'll go from there. All right, so we're in Lightroom now, and on the left I have JCH StreetPan 400, and on the right I have the Kodak TMax 400. On the left I'm going to be using the Nikon Light Touch AF, that's for all the Japan camera film, and then on the right I was using my Ricoh R10, so that's all the TMax. All right. This is just how you got it, right? There's no changes. So even if I wanted to achieve a bit of what StreetPan is doing, this scene here on the TMax, I think it's pretty easy, right? Shadows down, still working with stuff. Remember, these are JPEGs. They're not even the best files to be working with. All right, so I could pull my blacks down if I wanted to, exposure down, contrast up, or even exposure up and contrast even higher. And let's look at that as an example. So you see how I'm kind of already there, but I had the option. I had the option to get there. I think that's what I'm looking for. But like, let's give an example of I could actually get JCH to this point. Let's see if that could work. That would mean pulling up the shadows a bit, pulling up the whites, pulling back the blacks. Let me see. It just looks a little bit like I just lifted my shadows, and I don't want that look either, right? So when I put it back, I prefer the stock to just be like this, 100%, than to try and, you know, pull back on grit and darkness and shadows. Let's go back to the comparison. So this guy goes here. When I look here, in general, at least I can tell building, shadows, tree, whereas over here it's a little bit muddier. And as much as I thought I would like contrast and that grittiness, I don't know if it's telling the full story for me. I think this is a better starting point for me based on these two rolls right here. So let's go through a few more photos and see what the results are going to be. Here's another photo that really kind of solidified it for me. All right, so we'll put that here, and then we'll look for the Japan camera one, which is right here. Now, better composition on the right for sure. I think what I was trying to do was get a touch of flare, and because these poles were so dark, I thought it would be cool to have them in the image. Okay, I might have even put the flash on, now I'm thinking about it. For me, can the TMax give me a version of JCH? So let's do a little bit of editing again on this one. We will start with bringing this up, a little bit more exposure, contrast up, whites, blow that out a bit, shadows in, blacks in, maybe pull those shadows back a bit. Let's see, pull that contrast up. Let's see where we're at. I mean, not bad, right? What would you do different? Again, we're losing in the corners here, even though the blacks are so beautiful on StreetPan. Maybe a better composition would have done it justice. Okay, let's go in there. Okay, maybe I spoke too soon. Hold on. Shadows. I could do better, right? I could do more. I could do more with this, don't you think? But I guess my argument is if I came from this and I don't want it to be even close to this, then isn't the whole point lost in the film that I'm buying? You know, it has to make sense, and StreetPan ain't cheap, so that's gonna play into the factor of like how much post-process am I doing to justify this. Right now it looks like I'm still leaning towards TMax. Yeah, here's the comparison that I wanted to show you. Okay, so excuse the horrible light leak, and then let's go to the reference of that. All right, so this is pretty glaring here when you look at JCH. Again, everything is kind of just lost here. It just gets too dark on a super bright day. You could blame it on a million things, depending what I'm exposing for. When I press the shutter halfway down, this is what TMax gave me. This is what StreetPan gave me on the left. Now, is that bad? It's not horrible, but I feel like I'm gonna be able to work better with the TMax. As much as StreetPan is gritty and grimy, and I'm sure I'm going to find scenarios where I'm going to want that, I'm trying to be consistent and not think about my film stock. So when I look at it like that, let's do a quick edit and see what happens here. So I can already get the black that I want, right? That's already on JCH. And then highlights. Okay, I'm almost there. Some whites. All right. And then I can pull the shadows up still. Look at that. And this is a JPEG. That's not bad. I don't know if I need to do anything more than that. I get everything I want in TMax. I'm not trying to sell it to you. I'm actually talking out loud what to justify and what not to justify. So for right now, it looks like TMax is the way to go out of these two films. And now I'm going to just keep comparing TMax to the next couple of films and just see what comes close. These are point and shoots, so it's not that serious, but I do want to take it serious and start to really invest in the film that I'm going to be consistently using. I'm excited about what's possible, right? These are all untouched. Let's straighten that out. We got this one here. Yeah, that's really nice. Beautiful. And that is like right out the box, so I know it can be better. Let's just wrap this up, but I'm pretty hype, and I'm loving this image. Look at this. This is super. This is what I always thought when I was shooting film. These are the scenes and the feel that I want. Okay, so let's wrap it up. That was pretty straightforward. I feel in the end, I really did like the TMax. Like, it was exactly what I wanted. A film stock that's going to be very consistent. It's going to give me a lot of latitude. I'm learning a lot about that. One thing that I have to get better at is tonality. So if we're talking about the reds, the blues, the yellows, like how does that translate to black and white? What does that look like? And once I can mentally get my head around that, I think my compositions, my storytelling will get better, because it will be one less thing that I'm actually thinking about in real time. Because in color, it's just like, oh, that's beautiful, perfect. Yellow cab, oh yeah, red jacket, orange background. Oh, this photo is gonna look amazing because you can actually see those colors. But when you're working in tones, it's tougher for me anyways. But I want to understand what I'm shooting and why those colors are doing what they're doing. That's it for now. On to the next couple of black and white rolls of film based on the recommendations that you guys leave in the comments if you do. And I'm going to just keep trying, and I hope to kind of land on something in the next month or so. I don't want to break the bank trying out a million rolls, but I do have to try a few and see where I come back. Oh, X factor, bigger files when you scan. Obviously, you have more room to work with in post if you have bigger files. Obviously, right? So I'm using JPEGs. When you zoom in to like 100%, you can kind of see that you're just losing information. It gets kind of pricey when you're working with TIFF files, but that's what I'm going to have to do to get the most out of these film stocks. So larger files will produce better results, or produce the potential of better results. So I got to keep that in mind. If you didn't know, now you know. So until the next video.